Yep, we here. Man, I'm gonna tell you, I'm sitting up here on Flawless channel, and I forgot I had to do a live. The conversation was so good. I'm like, man, I made great conversation. Dr. Mark, you don't know his channel? Check it out. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and put his channel in here because I can do that real quick. Yep. Then y'all go check out his channel later for yourself. He's actually live now. I was just over there on this live, so you can go check it out. But yeah, Dr. Mark over there listening and talking with him. I'm like, man, I'm having a good time. I forgot I was doing the live this morning, you know. But that's the thing. You get lost in the conversation, and shout out to Gold P. Gold P is somewhat of a mentor to me in this YouTube space that I've been in, and he always say that conversations have legs, and before you know it, they begin to move in different directions. And so, with me listening to him, I'm actually forgetting that I got a live myself to go do. But needless to say, when it comes down to it, the $1 million man. So let's focus on that. If we're going to be talking about the $1 million man, guess what? There's a $1 million woman as well. But the thing is, not what you believe. The $1 million woman, and shout out to everybody coming in. That link right there is for Dr. Martin. I'm sorry, Dr. Mark, Flawless, and you can check out his channel. But Panama in the building, eyes, what's going on? Lashes, cruising, fun anytime. Now the thing is, the $1 million man, there's a $1 million woman. And the crazy part is a lot of people, you try to separate the two, but there's no separation. They're in the same boat. They're in the same house. You got to understand. It's funny that people don't talk about family and pushing family. You hear these women's spaces, you hear the men's spaces. They talk about, you know, man, I'm gonna be a millionaire. I'm gonna be this. I'm gonna be that. But then it goes back to the whole saying, the king without a queen. The queen is one of the most protective. I mean, the king is one of the most protected piece on the chessboard. The queen goes around and just flies all over that chessboard, protecting that king. That king can only take one step at a time. So he's dependent on that queen to protect him from every piece, from the pawns to the rooks, bishops. And that queen does it so gracefully. That's how the empires are built. When you hear people say this is chess, not checkers, they're saying that for a statement for a reason. And a lot of times I hear different people in different spaces talking, and they don't really have that point. Like the queen, in the household, you literally have a lot of women that contribute so much. You know, that's what I talk about this a lot when I be talking to different people. I tell them, I say, when it comes down to it, you know, it's not, it's to a dictatorship when it comes to the kids. Me and my wife, we both make decisions in our household. Boss lady, mahogany in the building. We both make decisions because when it really comes down to it, like she's the rock. You know, if I make a decision and it's bad for the family, it's gonna be horrible for us. I get her input just like she gets my input. Certain things I'm firm on, which I say no, I'm not. I'm not letting go on this. We need to do this. We need to do this way. Same applies when she does her thing. If it's something that she's firm on, I'm not gonna bypass that. If she tells me no, I really think we need to do this. You know what I do? I consider it. I say, okay, it needs to be done. It really do needs to be done. Matter of fact, let me go over here to this YouTube because some people ain't got wrenches. I know. All right, so back had to change some people moderator status. I upgraded some moderators, and I changed for people to have moderator status a little better. But needless to say, when it comes down to it, like this whole thing about family, a lot of people are not really talking about this. A lot of people are not sitting here having that understanding. Most of the most wealthiest people are married, have kids. When when you have the lawyers and they have partners, majority of times those partners are married. You don't have too many bachelor type of conglomerate groups that come in. Lisa, how's it going? Lisa, how's it going? And you don't have these big old conglomerate of bachelor guys running around, you know, just running these companies like there's no tomorrow. It's a surge in it now because of these new generation of young kids that are coming in being millionaires at 21, 25. Some is 18. Learning the tricks and the trades. I once was on Dave Ramsey. There was a guy, he was on there, wasn't married, single. Guy was about 25 or something. And he had a phantom. And they was like, how much you paying for that phantom? He was like $5,000 a month. And he's like, oh my goodness, for a car, what in the world? He's like, how much you make a month? And the guy was like, about 4.3. And he was like, you make $4,300 a month and you got a $5,000 car? He's like, no, 4.3 million. He's like, oh, well, you can afford it. And that's the thing. Like these young guys are coming in with this automation, and that was the thing. He worked in automation and marketing. So affiliate links, he was killing it with that. He had a lot of videos doing stuff to where he broke the code and was able to make almost $4 million a month just by doing these affiliate links. And it adds up. But the whole point of it is when you start going into corporate, a lot of these guys are married. A lot of these women are in there for the win. And needless to say, the Kevin Samuels method of what is it? Men having options. That's typically always the thing when it comes to most of the guys with money and the women stay with them. I'm not saying that's the thing to do, but typically that's what you get when you have these men in power. They sit there and mess around, and I would say majority of them do, but most don't. Most of these guys love their wives, want to come home to their loving family. They don't want to do anything to disrupt it. I'm one of those guys. I always tell my wife, and I tell many people, I have enough time dealing with my wife. I don't need two phones like Tiger Woods trying to go cheat and mess around. Tiger had like so many women, but the point of it was, you see what Tiger did? Tiger had a family. Tiger, he could have just said, I don't want a wife. I just want to be out here living this player life. But he knew the significance of having a family. He wasn't going to be in that inner circle. He wasn't going to get invited to a lot of these functions and things without having a family. A lot of these lawyers who move up as partners, they get married and have families young. And even in their older years, when they do have the family, they're settling down because they know the structure of money and they need someone that's there for them and hold them within the ranks. That's where that queen on the chessboard comes in. You know, because as it stands, a man can grow to a status of being a king by his wealth, but he won't have an empire without a family. And that's the thing, that the empire is structured on the lineage. See, that's what we don't have these conversations about this. When you're talking about wealth and lineage, you're talking about the empire. Reginald Lewis. Reginald Lewis started, I would just say, from the rough part of the neighborhoods, and grew himself to make $1 billion, amounts that wealth, and wanted his kids to have their lifestyle, and of knowing their culture. And he was invited to the what's called the Jack and Jill. And shout out to Dr. Dunbar. We had a discussion yesterday talking, and for those who don't know, go back and look at the channel. Matter of fact, I might drop that link in the we building over here. Man, I like that name. I was just telling my wife, man, I was like, we here, we building over. Hey, I was like, that is a name, man. Shout out to you. I gotta come over there and pull up your channel, man. But this is the biggest thing. Like, when we have these family structures, that's the win. Look at all the wealthiest of families. They all had kids. They had a structure. The Rockefellers took advantage of the life insurance in 10x. The Kennedys took advantage of life insurance in 10x. They got into the trust business, showing their family like, look, we're gonna get this money, put it in a trust. We're gonna build off. One of the Kennedys' kids had ended up killing somebody, and they were trying to sue the family, and they was only able to get like 5,000, I think 50,000, $20,000. Like, all their money was so set up and tied in the trust, they couldn't touch it. I mean, it was just crazy how they were able to move that money like that, and hey, they couldn't do nothing about it. Couldn't do nothing about it. And I'm like, man, it comes a point to where we really have to structure ourselves to figure out what we really want. You know, family is obtainable, but could we say it's for everybody? There's some people that can get into a family structure and make it work. And there's some people that just tied to this, I always go back to it, society standard. Society standards will have us wanting to be like the herd. I knew when I got married at 25, that wasn't the way of the herd. Everybody was thinking, man, I get married later in life. The women were thinking it, the men were thinking it. Like, I'm like, dude, I want a family. I want a family young. I wanted a family straight out of high school. I didn't want it to be that statistic part of having a family. Lashes. I didn't want to have that statistic part of having a family to say this young guy was young and dumb, and he had a family at 18, didn't know what he was doing, this and that. Like, I literally came out the gate out of high school with a good job, straight out of high school. I was working there over the summer all the time. So the biggest thing with me, I was like, man, I got this good job, making money, traveling, seeing the whole. I done been to every state over the United States. There's not one state besides Alaska, which I was gonna go to when I was in Washington, but I ended up had to deadhead to California and Hawaii. Those are the only two. Besides the other, added on 53, 54 state, District of Columbia and all that, going around in those areas. But the point of it is, like, landmass, I done been all over Texas, all the way up to Maine, love up Maine, been down to the Keys in Florida, like California, all throughout over there in that area, Iowa, Montana, North and South Dakota. Like, I literally traveled with that company I work for, moving company, and I made money just doing it. And I would always go see nice places, go out and eat, like see the local, what was the hot spots around there. But needless to say, like, with me having a family, man, like with me, I laugh because I always tell my friends I came into a ready-made family, and it was crazy because when I was in high school, I wrote on this piece of paper that I wanted to be married at 25. They asked us, they was like, you need to write your goals. What where you gonna be when you're 25 and when you're 30 and so forth. I just devoted to being my goals when I'm 25. I said I want to be in design because I wanted to be a fashion designer in high school, you know. And I said I wanted to be in fashion design. I wanted to own my own business, you know, and I wanted to pretty much be married, have two kids, a boy and a girl, have a whole bunch of cars, and have a house. The only I would say I pushed a couple of those things because with the business, I actually worked for a company, but it was a, promotion company. I basically had people working up under me that I hired and I paid them. So technically, it was kind of like my company. Even though I worked for the guy, I paid them out of my pocket before we got paid because the thing about it was we got paid on the premise. Clay, what's going on? Gotta check your page out. Let me screenshot my phone. But the thing of it was, I paid them out of pocket because, like I said, I made so much money at the moving company to where we only got paid when the promotion was done. Sometimes it'll take 2 months. Sometimes it'll take 1 month. Sometimes we'll have promotion that only take like 2 weeks to do, and we got paid. And so what I used to do was I pay these guys out my pocket. Like I tell them, you want a weekly or do you want to just get paid instantly for certain things? Like we do a promote, you get paid that day, and it was only like a minimum, or you can go weekly and get a certain amount all the way up until we get paid. And I would always ask the guy, like, what's the average on this promotion being paid? So sometime it'll be over, but very rare it was less, because it was always around five to $10,000 that we did as far as our promotion. So I would get my cut, and the guy, he would get like I think 10 to 20, I think like 20%, because he's like, y'all doing all the work. I'll just go ahead and pay y'all. So get 20%. But needless to say, that was one of the things. I had a company. I got married, so I had a wife. That was on my list. I wanted two kids. I didn't have no kids, but this was the thing. My wife had two kids. She had a boy and a girl. So I married into it. So that was on the list. Those three things on the list right there: business, wife, kids, then have the house, then have the car. I always traveled. So I was like, I don't need a car. I can always borrow a car, rent a car when I come in town. And my thing of it was, why would I pay a car note on a car that sits at the warehouse and I'm gone? Like literally one time they did um broke down my days at home. Out of 365 days, I was only in Georgia pretty much 160 or 180 around in there. So majority of my time was spent on the road. So I'm literally paying for a car that's not sitting. I didn't fathom that to be something that I want to do. So I just kept my money. So those two things that I have, the house and the car. But other than that, I had everything on my list. And I was like, "Man, it's crazy." And without me being in the fashion industry, but I had a good job paying good money. So that was another thing. But other than that, 3 out of 3 ain't bad, you know. And so my biggest thing was with my family structure. I always talk with my wife, and I was like, "Man, we got to do this. We got to work on this. We got to do this together." And my wife, we start working on the same page, doing things together. End up having my boys. I had twins, one shot and done. I was like, as soon as I had twins, at first I thought I was getting quadruplets, man. When my wife showed me that ultrasound and showed me those pictures where they take pictures from different angles, and she was like, "You know what that is?" And when she showed it to me, I was like, "Man, it's a lot of kids." Doc, Dr. Martin, what's going on? I was like, man, I'm late for my broadcast over there listening to you, man. I was like, oh man, I gotta get over here. I was like, the conversation's so good, man. Let me go ahead and leave now. But yeah, so when I had my twins, I was like, man, I thought I was having quadruplets, man. I was like, whoa, this is a lot of pictures. And so she's like, nah, it's twins. You don't see it at the bottom? I said, yeah, I see the two babies in there, but I'm like, when you had so many different pictures, I thought they were going from different angles, like these two kids over here and these two kids over here. But luckily, it was twins. I was still happy, man. I was like, I told my wife, I said, the first thing I said, I'm gonna need more insurance on myself. And she just bust out laughing because she's like, "Why are you thinking about the finance?" And yeah, I'm like, "Look, family, family. I have to have that structure. I have to have that structure." And so, that was one of the things. Like now, that's why I always talk so much about life insurance. Like I talked about on Dr. Dunbar's channel. My great grandmother, she said, "You don't want to be a burden to people, so you need to have some type of insurance at least to bury yourself among all else." Now that I have a family, just enough for burial insurance, because that's the difference from life insurance and burial insurance. I can get burial insurance typically ranging about 2,000 to $5,000. That covers the 2,000 will only just cover my cremation and probably a small ceremony. But the burial, the one to where I can get about 5,000, that covers, small amount like a regular casket, a repast, and a service. And, might have a little money for the plot and stuff like that. And, and the tombstone. All that for about 5,000. That's pushing it now because saying the least, when I buried my uncle, I was over his assets. I spent $8,000 just on the funeral alone. I spent $900 on his on the, what is it called, the after ceremony, like where everybody go to eat the repast, I think, where we all sit down and ate. I ordered from Popeyes, ordered from a different restaurant, some food that got everything catered, and nobody had to cook, nobody had to do anything, just come, everybody fellowship. But needless to say, like when it comes down to it, it you need money, you know. And I went on a tangent, but going back into the main topic, like being that $1 million man, it's a family structure. You literally have to have, yeah, the repass, but you literally have to have like that man and that woman. A man can make, like I said, he can obtain wealth by himself. He can be that $1 million man, but this the catch. He won't have that empire. He will not have that empire. Because when he died, his legacy goes with him. You know, the craziest thing, needless to say, if something were to happen in Oprah pass, everybody will remember Oprah. But if something was to happen with Gail, her lineage of her kids, grandkids will always bring up Gail. They would always bring up Gail. They would say, "Oh, and her friend Oprah too. She'll be the biggest fish in the family because of her lineage." With the kids. And see, that's the biggest thing. Like I said, you go to all these corporate events, these balls, everything. These men bring these women. Most of the guys who bring these women that are in marriages, they're high ranking in the company. You truly have to just like go on your merits of your work to status yourself in a company and not marry. Other than that, they see the writing on the wall. You're an okay employee, but you're family oriented. That says a lot in business. The way you structure yourself in a family, it says a lot in business because the character you build, the way you carry yourself, the way you treat your kids, the way you treat your wife. In most instances, like slander on a man who's cheating and doing bad things to his wife, it's bad for business. Very bad for business. Look how many guys who abuse wives and They're in these corporate positions. Look how they just about lose everything. I was on Shannon Ross channel yesterday, and there was a guy. It was a book reading, and they were talking about how this guy, um, a lady he was doing business with, called on one of his biggest clients and asked him, Did you look at the social media? Look at your name on LinkedIn." He goes to LinkedIn, and somebody puts up there that he's a bad person and he's this and he's that. Right then and there, that business cut tie with him because they said he was abusive. Then another business cut tie with him because he was abusive. Like, that's the thing. When you're in business and you get a bad rep on your name, that tarnishes you, you know, let alone having a family and doing that. So, going into the rankings, you really, 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 considering that woman being that $1 million woman and that man being that $1 million man, they're working together on principles. They're working together for the greater good. They're working together to amass a wealth. You know, there are situations to where that woman, she's in there helping Jeff Bezos' wife. Don't you know the craziest thing happened with Jeff Bezos? When he divorced his wife, he was gonna give her half of everything. You know who told him don't do that? A lot of these corporate guys and guys who were dealing with their wives, they didn't want that on their record. But the thing of it was, he did it fair. He gave her stock options into the company, and that's where her wealth came from. Now she sells those options. There you go. Like, far as in the media, she didn't get that much. She probably got like a third, 1/3 or a quarter of his wealth on in his account, but he got all that back doing 19 when they were shipping so much. Got all that back doing 19 when they were shipping so much. But needless to say, she got her wealth from him because that's the thing. Like, he's not a vengeance person, and his wife was a good woman to him. So why not? I mean, the thing about it is, what most guys talking about with this alimony stuff, most guys don't even have enough money to even get put on alimony. Most women are working just like the men are working. So a lot of times when I hear guys talking about paying alimony, most guys are not even paying. They're not even close to paying alimony. So when I hear these talks, I be like, that's not you. That's not you. That there's nowhere not you. So needless to say, like, building that wealth with that family, that woman and that man, they're sticking together through thick and thin. I mean, throughout all family structures, most of the time you see these women go through these issues with these men. When you're at an elite class, like right now, to a degree, a lot of these people divorcing any little reason. I seen this video about this guy in Russia. He said, "You hit me and I don't like it. I'm getting a divorce. You yell at me, I don't like it. You're getting a divorce." He said, "Where is that? That's only in America. Other countries don't go through this. They don't sit here and have a high divorce rate because you look a certain way. You came in the door looking a certain way. Oh, she don't cook. She came in the door not cooking." That's when the status comes with the status quo of you understanding what you're getting to when you're getting married. A lot of people don't understand that marriage carries so many other things than just sex, than just having a partner. It puts you in different circles. It raises your status with your money. You know, yeah, of course you can make money by yourself, but if you have a significant partner that's with you every step of the way, working with you can amass way more money. Jeff Bezos in that garage trying to start Amazon with books. His wife, I know she was shuffling those books with him. She's doing the paperwork late at night. I remember when I started my transportation business. There were some nights I was going to bed late. My wife got in there. She's like, "What can I do to help?" I say, "Organize these names, organize these routes, go into Google search, put all this in Google, and then I'll come back in and I'll organize and I can tend to what routes I want to accept, what routes I want to deny. Because I was doing transportation with the first, well, not really the first, well, the first business legally I started. All the other, they were just hobbies because I was doing them, not on paying taxes on them. But needless to say, when it came down to it, like I literally was doing that business and my wife was there at night helping me with the paperwork, helping me with the paperwork, helping me, move and groove and get that stuff. Like one of my biggest weeks, I think I did like because we got paid every 2 week off that contract. One of the biggest week we got was like $7,000. I mean, I'm sorry, every 2 weeks. So, but $7,000 with that 2 week paycheck. And I'm like, man, like me doing that by myself, it will work, but it would took a lot of work, a lot of patience. With her helping me, everything went so much smoother because when it came down to it, I knew when I came in, she already had the email set up. She already had my listing. All I had to do was just go in there and do what I do best is organize it and fit it to the way I want, a criteria in a certain way. And that was it. She shaved off like almost I think 2 hours off my time for me to go to bed early. So I had to get up early. And a lot of people are always talking like with business, when you getting up doing those long hours and working hard, the family suffers too because they're right there. They're in the trenches. The kids are there seeing dad working hard, seeing dad putting in those hours. The wife is there. She's trying to help as much as she can. And to a degree, I don't want to hear guys when they say, well, the women don't, if you got a woman that don't help and you in that business, that's your fault. You pick that woman. Anything you want to declare or say that that woman is doing wrong, it's all on the premise of you. I always tell people it's choices that you make. When people say I keep picking the wrong man because that's your choice. Don't get mad at the outcomes that you made for yourself. A lot of these people who are in business that make millions of dollars, they knew that the outcome of the people that they put in their family was gonna budget or enhance their wealth. There are people that can hold you have marriages where men are being held back and women being held back. There's women that can grow to their potential in business but don't have that push from that man. I've seen women who had successful businesses selling clothes and doing hair. They couldn't take it to the next level because that man wasn't there in there with them. You know, I've seen one person I helped and I'm like, dang man, you got a good business, man. You could do this, do this, do that. And they was like, oh, appreciate it. I'm like, dang, your man don't help you with this. Your man don't do. No, he say that's my thing. I don't. And I'm like, wow. But he eat off your success. Like when you make this money, he's there with you spending it. He's going on these trips. So why not invest? That's the sometime where a lot of times when we have these situations to where you have to take the back seat. This not your lane. You're not in control. So just take the back seat. My wife didn't come into my business and say, well, I'm gonna run this and I'm gonna show you how to do this because you don't know how to do this right. I got this. I know what I'm doing. No, she took the back seat. This wasn't her thing. She organized, did everything I told her to do, and that was it. She didn't come in and say, "No, you need to run it like this." No, that's the point. When you have that competition in that relationship, it's not going to work. That's why, when you have a man that's in a position that knows what he does, take the back seat. Same thing for a man. My wife, she started her hair care line and I'm helping her with everything much as I can. I take the back seat. I don't sit here like I suggest things to her. She knows she's in this field. She deals with this stuff. She does her hair more than me. She knows what products are good for your hair. My wife when I first met her, her hair was literally down. I have a picture if I can find it. Her hair was down the middle of her back. She ended up going to this stylist and I'm talking about she was paying like what, almost 150, $200, I think, for getting her hair washed because it was so long. and she just wanted different styles and stuff. So the lady told her to, bleach her hair and do something, and it broke her hair so bad. So she stopped going to the lady and ended up regrowing her hair back. Her hair is growing long now. It's past her shoulders. It's down in the middle of her back now. But the point of it was, is like that journey of redoing everything again. She had to go back, find all these things that she was using before, and doing other to make her hair so much longer. The point of it was like I can only work with that so much. You know, whatever she tells me and I need to help her with, that's it, because that's not my lane. You know, and a lot of people don't know how to take the back seat. Everybody wants to be the leader. Everybody want to be a boss. You can't be the boss if you don't know nothing about it. So, with having this type of family structure, with you trying to get into the millionaire status, or you trying to be that elite class that Jay-Z and Beyonce, I get tired of listening about Jay-Z and Beyonce. I want to be the Robert F. Smith family. They amass wealth way faster, and they did it without entertaining. Reginald Lewis, how he took his company, going around buying small businesses that were failing and turning them around and making them advance and be productive. Reginald Lewis, like, I always hear Rael talk about this guy, you know, and the way he amassed his wealth and the way he did, like, just reading and looking at so much things about Reginald Lewis and how he's a productive man, and the way he, came from the gutters and aspired himself to be great, made $1 billion in the 90s. A black man making $1 billion in the 90s. All the rappers running around flashing and jury and stuff like that. Most of the stuff, the jury is rented, or the jury is fake. You know, um, what's his Ocho Cinco? Chad Johnson said it best. When he was in the NFL, he had a fake watch. He had fake earrings. He got the money, so he can fool you with it. That was the whole biggest thing, like the whole rap style and image. I don't have to look like $1 million. People see my red pickup truck. It's a '98 Dodge Ram, regular cab pickup truck. I done had this truck for years, put a little money into it. I'm not giving this truck up to a tank out. I already bought like a real nice, um I had a 2010 Dodge Ram. I wrecked that. My wife, she had a new Toyota, was the 8 or something, like 8 Toyota with the hybrid. Um, we're in the process now of getting the SUV. I told my wife I wanted her to get the Genesis, but it's too expensive. I don't really want a car note. I don't have to have the glitz and glamour to show everybody I got money. I just need something to get me to point A to point B. When I amass so much wealth, then I can do that. Other than that, I'm not here to appeal and show off to people. My jewelry that I have, I rarely wear my jewelry. My wedding ring, I'm like, I don't wear my wedding ring like that because I keep knocking the stones out. My wife, her wedding ring, she has a wedding ring, but we don't look at those symbols and everything of us just, we're married, so we have to wear our rings and show it. Like, I tell people I'm married, because my whole thing is, me and my wife, we're building things together. We're working on things together. All of our kids, we're dealing with them the best we can. They could be a whole lot better. And like I tell my wife, sometimes I have to slow down because I'm in the process of working so much. I tend to lose track of the little things, you know, or the bigger picture. When I'm working so hard to put my kids into programs and put them into tutoring to help them with their finances and stuff, and let them learn how to do these things, because that's my biggest thing. I can have the money and I can know what to do, but if my kids don't know what to do, It's nothing. They're not going to be able to do anything. They're not going to be able to facilitate the things I want for them in the future if they don't know how to manage money, if they don't know about stocks, if they don't know about life insurance. One of my kids think he's gonna be rich when he get his life insurance when he turns 18. I was like, no, no, you're not. You're probably gonna have you know, probably over 50,000 if that, but you're not getting the whole 50 out. You're getting a percentage out. And then with that, you need to save that money until, you know, either you go get a house or something. You want a car, I can help you get a car without touching that money. You're not gonna get the latest and greatest car, but you're gonna get a car that's nice, drive. When you start working, you make your own money. I'm trying to get my son now because he games a lot, trying to get him into building computers and learning coding. I just seen a 13-year-old kid got his associate's degree in cybersecurity. 13 years old, walked on a college stage with his associate's degree in coding. That's how you amass wealth for the next generation. That's how you work with your kids. I'm like, I tell my wife all the time, the kids are not where I want them to be. They're behind the eight ball. And I say, well, I got to do a little more. I got to pay a little more. I got to do more training. I got to put them in different circles, and that's the thing. Like I was telling my wife, thinking about moving, you know, and I always say that when it comes down to it, the school matters. I used to work moving company for over 15 years. I always told people anytime I talk to people, newlyweds or new couples that trying to get a marriage and stuff like that, get kids started. I always tell them the school matters. Move where the school has the best school district, you know. Or when it comes down to me, when I moved, the high school was great. The high school, middle school in Gwinnett was great for my kids. Elementary is sucked. Those kids were fast paced and coming out the gate, they didn't learn a lot in pre-K. So that pre-K set them back. So I had to come to Decatur where I grew up at, where the pace was mellow. They took time with their kids and taught them. See, that's the way you got to move in society. You could be the richest man in the world, but if you have the dumbest kids and they don't know nothing, how rich are you? You know, you can be only rich in mind, but your kids are not rich. You know, when it comes down to it, having these conversations, it hit too close to home because nobody really wants to focus on it. You know, having $1 million is nothing. And I'm gonna end with this. Shout out to Alonzo Hall. He did a luncheon one time, and I always bring this story up about the trust attorney. How she was saying that there was this young guy. He had like I think $4.3 million he got from his mom and dad who passed. And soon as he guy got the money, I think he got bought a house, a condo. He bought a Ferrari, and he was throwing parties like crazy, taking trips to Dubai. Within a year, this dude was damn near broke. He had to get rid of the car, had to downsize, all because his mom and dad gave him so much money. He knew how to spend the money, but he wasn't looking at how to make the money. So he was like, "Oh man, I'm down to $3 million. Oh man, I got $2 million. I'm down to $2 million. I got $1 million. Man, I'm down to $1 million. I got 500,000. It gets to that point where you know you're educated enough to know if you're taking money out, you're gonna be putting money back in. First thing I would do getting that amount of money is look at me trying to start a business, getting a bigger life insurance policy, slapping so much money in that life insurance policy because people don't know. You can get a life insurance policy and use it as a credit card, use it as a big loan. But the point of it is, who's teaching this stuff in our community? Who's learning this stuff? Nobody's looking for it. If somebody say something about it, you be like, well, let me look into it. Oh wow, that's cool. I ain't know that. But are you gonna take advantage of it? That's why I'm always on Alonzo's channel listening to him because I grew up wanting to know like how to make a whole bunch of money. I said to people when I didn't go to college, I said, what job am I gonna do to mass wealth and make money real quick, real fast? It was driving trucks without going to school. I said, okay, my dad, when he passed, he left so much money for me and my brothers. Like, how am I gonna do that for my kids? And I didn't go to the military. Life insurance. Like that's the biggest step with me is when I had started a family, how can I protect my family? How can I be there for my family? What things can help me provide for my family? Life insurance. But with that being said, let me go ahead and get off of here because I'm at work now and I gotta get it. Like I always say, we here and we gone.